Alright, so I guess we can see the map. That must mean the stream is going. Let me just check again to be sure. Seems to be having a good connection. Alright. So as I wrote in the description, lately I've been doing like air intercept missions, and just intercepting the same MiG all the time can get boring. So I would have like different types of enemies appear in the sky so that I would not see them appear always at the same altitude and the same spot. And that makes them interesting, and also the same mission can be replayed many times, and it's good training. And I was toying the idea to do the same thing with an air-to-ground mission. And so this is the mission that I started building here, and I'm going to use it as an example. And then I'll be able to show you with the completed version that I made how I can have randomized ground targets where I won't necessarily know exactly where they're located, but I'll know which area where they are, and then it allows me to take off from my base here and go attack them. So to make the demonstration a bit faster, I just set up something here like an area where the mission is going to take place. So what I did is I positioned like a destroyed garage here, and I've put one of those trigger zones, which I called Fire 2. I put a destroyed SA-8 vehicle here. I put a Fire 3. And then I put some destroyed T-55s and fuel trucks, and I put it Fire 5. And what I did with these is I put labels that describe them as, being burning. And as you can see here, it sort of makes a nice triangle. You have this large garage fire, the burning SA-8, and the burning T-55s. And there are other fires here at the supply hangars, and I think I've put another one in the city there. So it looks like a war-torn area, and it also looks like an area where the enemy might be supplying their troops, and maybe they're coming in to attack our airfield. It's only like 9 miles away, so it's like there's danger there, right? So that's the premise of the mission. And so usually when I create air-to-ground missions to be able to go check what's on the ground like this, I start with the target. I don't put my plane yet. I've only made the airfield blue. I just put ground targets. That way, let's say here, the supply hangars, you can see that I've put some trucks, and I'd like to go see that area, what it looks like in 3D. I can just say, okay, let's go with this. Yes, we'll save. And we're going to go check inside. So usually when it loads up, when you press fly, it'll show you like the first vehicle that you put in the simulation. In this case, it's my Jeep that I call the Observer Jeep. I usually use that Jeep as my bomb damage assessment vehicle if I want to use the F7 view to see what kind of hits I got on the ground. So earlier I was talking about that supply base. It's here. There's a hangar already on fire. There's a few parked trucks, and you can see I've put like one of the Mason garages type of things with 3 trucks underneath. So I can see in 3D like this what it looks like, and I can look at the whole area where that big garage fire is. I can go further here and see the SA-8 that's on fire. And we can go to the area where the tanks and the fuel trucks here are on fire, as you can see. So those are destroyed targets. They're not going to be targets for us in the mission, but if I go like a little bit higher like this, you can understand that this triangle of smoke, anything that I would like to attack will probably be inside the triangle, in those fields or close to the city, or somewhere like that. I've even put here like close to where the Jeep is. You can see those 3 tents and some insurgents and some trucks. So I've put like a small infantry base there. It's not really part of the targets I plan to include in the mission, but when you're flying and you see this, you can use it as a target of opportunity if you've got leftover weaponry, and so that can be fun to do, And it can also be a location where you could position some of the legit targets that you want to put afterwards in the mission. And so it's an interesting location. It's got like urban areas. It's got some buildings that could be used, like these garages or these warehouses could be used as supply areas where you could put supply trucks. And so that's going to be my area where I want to operate. So how do I create those random targets? So let's go back to the editor. So one of the cool features we've had recently is this feature here, which allows us to copy things and move them around. Let's say, for example, the target I wanted to have would be these 3 tents with infantry, and I wanted to move them around and maybe even bring the trucks with them. I could just select the whole thing now, and I could do like a Control C, and I could go pluck that, I don't know, on the other side of the river here. I could have another identical one right there, and you'd have the trucks, the infantry, and everything. Okay, this is not really what I want to do for this mission, so I'll just delete that. But as you can see, this is one of the things you can do if you had like a very elaborate group of buildings with sandbags and all the things you can put now. You could move all that around and put them in. Usually though, when you want something random to appear, you're going to use like live objects. For example, in this mission, what I had set out to do, I wanted to practice flying the Su-25 and shooting some of the laser guided weaponry. And for this mission, I'll have some of the larger laser guided rockets that you can carry. You can have 4 of those, and I can carry conventional rockets as well. And so I wanted to be able to fire those at targets, but I didn't want my targets to be like in the same spot every time I joined the mission. And so what I wanted to have is at least one AAA that would be a threat. That would probably be like my primary target that I want to take out. And then maybe some armor, and then some supply trucks. So those 3 things. But I want those 3 things to appear in different areas within, let's say, our triangle here, right? So let's start with the AAA. Let's have fun with the AAA. Let's say right in the middle here of the triangle, for fun, we could put in the field here, we could put a AAA vehicle. So we'll put it as part of the Red Task Force. And let's say for this one, I want to put ZSU-57. Okay, it's that tank that has those 2 big cannons. And let's say I don't want it to be alone. I'd like it to have like a supply truck with it. So I'm going to go Ural 4320. And maybe I can have some infantry along. Like, let's say these guys here. A few of those guys. There we go. So I've got put 5 things there. So let's call it AAA 1. And then we can say, like, for each of the members there, AAA 1-1, AAA 1-2, AAA 1-3, AAA 1-4, and AAA 1-5. There we go. And then you can position them in a way that makes sense. Like the truck should be close to the AAA vehicle. Maybe there's one infantryman there close by. Maybe another one there, and another one in front. So you can see that you have like a group of people and vehicles. And if you want to know, like, again, in 3D, what does that look like, you can go back here, say yes, load the mission. And then we can go to the map, select, let's say, the vehicle, hit F7. And now we have the vehicle. We can see the soldiers around, the truck that has the supplies. So this is what it looks like in game. And from a distance, it's pretty hard to see, but we can see there's a darker truck and this vehicle is a lighter color. So, you know, in a plane, you might be able to see the dark spot first, and then you might see the AAA. So that could be like one threat that you could put in the mission. Now, as I said, what we want to create is the idea that it's going to be random. I don't want it just to appear there every time I load the mission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this one is going to be late activation, but I'm going to copy this. Okay, I'm going to copy with Control C, and I'm going to bring the same unit, let's say here. And then I have a second location with AAA number 2, which is also late activation, where I could have the AAA appear. And it's still more or less within our triangle. Okay. If I really want to be fair and say it's going to be inside, maybe I could just move it here. And here it's in a lighter color field, so maybe we would be able to see it a bit better. And then I could have, like, let's say another one here, but just for variation's sake, this one, instead of being just a ZSU 57, I could make it a Shilka. So Shilkas are a little bit more challenging. So again, you can also play with the skill. This one I could say is average. This one I could say, well, this one is a high. And this one here could be just good, you know. And you could even change the other units, but they're not that important. So you can see that now I have 3 different AAAs, but who needs to stop there, right? What if I want one that's moving? I could have, let's say, another one here, which is going to be our AAA number 4. Again, I'm going to make him part of the red side. And let's say I take one of those trucks, you know, those Ural trucks with the ZU-23 on the back. So let's say I'll have it go, I think it goes at about 11 knots. Oops. Did that work? 11. Let's try that again. Okay. And I give him a few waypoints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last one, I tell it to perform command, go to waypoint 0. That would mean that he's going to make a little loop. This one I won't make late activation. That way we can go check in the game right away how it fits. Actually, what I'll do before I do that, all of those that I had put late activation, I'll put them all in so that we can look at their locations. Okay. So that's something I like to do when I test missions. I like to see where they're going to be located, if they're not like stuck in a tree, or if there's not a unit that's having trouble. So again, we have our little Jeep. So there was this guy here that we could see. Okay, that's the guy we position in the lighter color field. So you can see this one will probably spot from a greater distance. But usually you spot them when these cannons start firing, right? There's a ZSU, it's got the 4 cannons that shoot 23 millimeter. That usually wakes you up pretty quick. So that's an example. And then we have the one that I put there, the truck that was moving. We can go check him out. He's moving along. And again, he's producing a little bit of smoke in the field. So you're coming in with your plane. You see a bit of smoke in the field. There's a vehicle moving. That's a good target. And if you don't like a target that moves too fast, you can make him go a little slower. Let's say you're using more modern planes that have the targeting pods and you have a laser. You want it to be able to follow that. You can make it a bit slower if you prefer. That's entirely up to you when you design the mission. But I guess you get the idea that I have put different vehicles in different spots. We can check all of them if it makes sense where they're located. And so we've got those 4 AAAs. But again, I don't want all 4 to appear. I just want one that it will make a nice fun target. And here I've put 4, but I could have put 7. And you'll see how we randomize that in just a second. So I'll go back to the editor. So now we're back in here, and we want to make all these guys potentially appear, but right now we're going to just make them all late activation. So if I were to activate the mission right now, they would not appear. They would not be in the game. So what we'll do here, I'm just going to put a new trigger. I'm going to say activate random. And my condition, it could be any condition. It could be when your plane comes in the area. It could be whatever. For our sakes here, we're just going to make time more 3. So that means after 3 seconds, it's going to activate my little trigger. And what we want is we want to create a flag and give it a random value. So flag set random value. So for AAA, I'm going to say my flag is 1. And because I've put 4 in this mission, I'm going to put minimum value of 1, maximum value of 4. So after 3 seconds, flag 1 will receive a random value between 1 and 4. So how do I make these units appear with that flag? So it's pretty simple. So you create another trigger, and so I'll say flag 1 1, let's say. The condition will be flag equals, so 1 equals 1, and then I will say group activate AAA 1. Here I'm just going to clone this particular thing, and I'm going to change this to 1 2. Flag equals 2, the value is going to be 2, and it's going to create AAA number 2. And here I'm going to clone this again. There. Put value 3. I'm going to go with AAA number 3. And then I'm going to clone this again. 4, 4, and 4. So now if I start the mission, one of these 4 groups will appear. And I could even go like even further. I could have like an extra flag value, which would be 5, where let's say it would make appear this one and this one. It could have 2 appear. That would be a bigger surprise, right? And so you can have as many of those as you want, depending on how many possible values you've set. Here I've got from 1 to 4, so I know I'm going to get 4 possibilities. For the demonstration here, it's going to work. So let's say we start the mission now. One of those 4 AAAs will appear, but we don't know which one. So if we look at F10 now, you see after 3 seconds this ZU23 appeared. It's the one that's moving. So if we look at F7, it's him. He's in there. We can see the SA8 burning in the background. So if I were to fly the mission this time, he would be the threat. Now if I go quit and I say fly again, hopefully we'll get a different one this time. And each time the mission reloads, it's going to give us probably, okay, it's the same one this time. If I say quit and fly again, I don't know if I have to restart the whole mission for the random value to be different, but sometimes it'll be the same, sometimes it'll be a different one. Let's see now. Yeah, it seems to just load this one. So what I'll do is I'll say quit, mission editor, and then we'll relaunch it like that. And then hopefully when we get to this here, okay, it's always the same guy. That's one of the things with randomizers. Sometimes the randomizer will just give you the same thing a few times in a row. It's not very good when you're trying to make a demonstration, but let's see. Okay, now we have a different one. You see, now it's the ZSU23. So if I click on it and hit F7, you see it's this one. So that's the whole idea. I won't know when I try to fly this mission which of the AAAs is going to appear. Could be this one, it could be any of the other ones. And so it seems that the simulator, the last few attempts, wanted me to have the one that was moving, but it could be any one of those. So that's the first target I wanted to put in. So one of the things you'll notice is here in the mission, this would be like when we're flying the mission, we see the units. If you want this to be invisible on the map so that you actually have to visually spot it, you could choose the option to hide this. And I'll show you how to do that in the editor. Mission editor. So let's say I don't want people to be able to see that on the F10 map. You can say hidden on map, hidden on planner, hidden on MFD. So you know, like when you have, let's say the F18 or the F16, if you choose hidden on MFD, you won't see like the threat circles for a SAM or a AAA. So if you don't want the player to see that, you can hide them with these. But I kind of like to have them visible on the F10 map, especially when it's like more or less meant as a training mission. So this was my AAA target. Let's say I also wanted to put some trucks. Well, again, if I want, let's say unarmed, and here let's say we're going to put the ZIL 135 because it's a pretty big truck. I could park a few trucks here. And again, you can position how you want. You can make them in a nice line, or you could make them in a square. It can be whichever form you want. You can make them face different directions. Okay, so let's say that's a group. I could have named him something differently, like truck 1, truck 2, truck 3, truck 4. We could have done the same thing as we did here. And then we could position them in different places. We could have some close to the supply areas. We could have some that are moving, just like this one was moving. And then we could have, you know, different areas of that triangle populated with these trucks. And because they're fairly big trucks, I'm going to just load the mission again. You'll see that you can spot them from the air fairly easily. And that can be like for a plane like the SU-25, it can be a good thing. Let's say I go to my ZIL 135s and I hit F7. You can see that they're pretty big trucks, so if I zoom out a lot, I do see those 4 dots in the field. And as I get closer, I can clearly see that there's some vehicles there. So depending on the type of mission you want to do, if you really want to be able to spot vehicles, I recommend those ZIL 135s if you want to spot something, especially since they're green in a green field. It's going to help. If you want them to be more visible, you can put them in a light colored field like this one here. And is that another AAA there? Yeah, we've got this AAA that showed up. And so you could have as many of them as you want. So in order to speed things up, since you understand how it works now, I'm gonna load up another version of this mission that I have, which is more complete. So I'm gonna say open. We're gonna go with version number 3. And with version number 3, you can see that I've put more labels. I've put that AAA label with question mark, large trucks, question mark, and also BTR-80s. So the BTR-80s, you can see that some of them are moving, some of them are stationary, and the person playing the mission probably wouldn't know that before coming in, but they would know that somewhere around this area they might find BTR-80s, somewhere in the triangle there's AAA, and there are large trucks strewn around the place there. And so this one also has like a little bit more of a briefing that I wrote. So there's more information in there that tells you what you might be able to see. So it makes the mission a little bit more complete like that. And if we go look at our randomizer, what I did is I put BTR plus STR, which is supply trucks, plus ZSU. So we're going to get 4 possible values for flag 1, 5 possible values for flag 2, and 4 possible values for flag 3. And as you can see here, flag 1 is the BTRs, 1, 2, 3, 4. The supply trucks, there are actually 5 different positions where they could appear. It's those big trucks we just looked at. And my ZSUs, well, the different AAAs could appear in different spots. And I also added like a nice little message. If one of the 4 AAAs gets destroyed, you get a sound and a message. So that helps you when you're playing the mission. Okay, the threat is gone. Now I can just go lower to the ground, spot my other targets, fire regular rockets at them, and maybe my guns. Makes it nice. Okay, so this is what I worked a little bit more on. And then this here at the base, I added like nice decorations, but I've put like an Su-25. I've also put an F-5. Those are the 2 planes I've been practicing a lot with lately. And those are 2 good planes for this type of mission, in the sense that because we have the smoke, we don't need to worry so much about waypoints, because we can visually, like, this is like clearly like 7 miles. You'll see when we take off, we'll actually see the smoke right from the takeoff, and we can just head for that smoky area and look inside the triangle for targets. So we don't really know what we're going to face, but we know that we're going to probably get some BTR-80s, some supply trucks, and some ZSUs, different AAA types that could be in the mission. And so let's go have a look at it. Let's go fly it in the Su-25. So now that I've put the F5 and Su-25 in the mission, they appear as choices. I've also put observer spots, because if I wanted to add more targets, if I wanted to decide like I want to add more positions for the vehicles that I've put in, I would be able to come in and do what we did before. With the observer spot, you can go check on the F10 map where objects are located, which ones appeared, which ones didn't. You can see if your flag value has loaded up the proper unit. So for now, we'll just click OK, and we're going to go to our Su-25, and then we'll see the load screen. And then we have like a little description. It says the mission generates targets at various locations in a random fashion. This makes targeting a bit more challenging, because every time you load the mission, the targets will possibly have changed position. There are some BTR-80s near the supply hangars. So there you go. There's your information that's useful. When you go check F10, you get an idea of where they might be. Around 5 ZIL 135 trucks somewhere in the target area. But first, it would be recommended to find and destroy the enemy's AAA platform. Reports indicate it could be a ZSU-23-4, more probably a ZSU-57-2, or a ZU-23 on a Ural truck. These are your priority targets. If you spot other trucks or the enemy infantry base with tents, you can attack those as well. It's possible to come back to Senaki to rearm as well. Let's say we run out of weapons and we haven't destroyed everything we wanted to destroy. We can come back here at the base and rearm. So here I'm in my cockpit for the Su-25. As you can see, my message here has appeared. So the random vehicles have been have appeared. So this is my plane here. As you can see, I saw the lights were on. I'm just going to turn them off. There we go. So yeah, I chose this nice skin that fits well with the color of the grass. It's a Ukrainian skin. And for the weapons, you'll see on the outside pylons, I have the smaller rocket pods with lots of rockets. I could use those on the trucks. On the inboard pylons, I have bigger rockets that can be used for the BTR-80s, and those big four rockets that you see there, those are the laser guided rockets. This was the reason why I built the mission in the first place. I wanted to practice firing those and different weapons that are laser guided with the Su-25. And if you see there in the background, you can actually see the smoke in the distance. So we're not very far from the target. As I said before, if I zoom out like this, you'll see our triangle of smoke is there in the distance. So this is where we're going to be operating. Again, if we look at the map, we had an indication that there would be probably BTR-80s near the supply hangars. Now it's a bit of a cheat. We know that they're located here. And there's some trucks there close to the trees. And you see, it's the moving ZU-23 that's going to be our target there for the AAA. Again, it could have been something different. This is what we're going to get this time. So just for the demonstration purposes, we're going to go try this. So let me just check on the outside view. I have my flaps. Everything looks good there. Just want to get familiar again with my weapon stations. So this switches between the different weapons. So these are the inboard rockets, outboard rockets. Those are the laser rockets that I will be using on the AAA. So I'll have them selected first. And so I'll put my feet on the rudder pedals, give it some throttle, and then we can go see if we can find the targets. Like I said, for the demonstration here, we went and looked at the F10 map and all of the units were visible. But if this was like a mission where you want to surprise your friends, you could hide everything, and if they go check, they wouldn't know, so it would make it even harder. Speed coming up to 300, and we're gonna pull, and it's just gonna get in the air. Gonna get the gear in. Can get our flaps up to gain some speed. And there we go, we're off to battle. So I'm going to gain some altitude because I want to see from up top what it looks like when we get to the target area. And I did put like a waypoint so I could follow my HSI right here and say, okay, I'm going to go towards where the needle is pointing there. There we go. And you can see that big fire, that's the garage fire. That other fire to the right, that's the supply base fire. Below me there, that's the SA-8, and over there, that's the tank. So we're already there pretty much. And I just saw for an instant there in the field the AAA that we're going to want to shoot first. He's probably gonna maybe take a few pot shots at me if we look in his direction. Yep, there he is, he's shooting. So yeah, we know that there is danger here. So I'm gonna try to escape the area unscathed, and then we'll come back to try to get one of those laser weapons on him. It won't be easy because he's moving, but that's part of the fun, right? So I'm moving away. I know where he is now because he's shot at me. He's in the big field, like right over there. If I can get my mouse to show up. Guess it doesn't work with the FC3 planes. You can't point things with the mouse. But that's okay. We're looking at him. He's right there. He's moving in the field. I can clearly see him. So I'm going to bring my nose towards him. I'm going to bring the throttle down a bit. Slow down. I'm going to reset my view here. There we go. I'm going to turn on the laser. I'm going to lock the ground close to the target right there, and already I can fire one of my rockets, I think. There we go. So I'm gonna move with small corrections and hopefully hit him. Yep, there we go. And we get the little message, as I said earlier, laser off. We can move away. And he's on fire right there. So that was a nice demonstration of how we can use those laser rockets on a moving target. So now what I want is I want to locate and destroy the BTRs, and I can use those same rockets for that job. And I know they can fire back at me, the BTRs, so I have to be careful. But I also have to locate them. I know that they're probably close to the second smoke to the right. And so, I've got the big garage fire. I've got the supply base. I know there are BTRs in that area, so I'm going to head towards the area. Maybe not straight for it. And then we'll look out the window and see if they shoot at us. Oh, I already see like 4 things there in the field. Is that them? Yeah, there are 4 vehicles in the field. Doesn't seem to be much of anything else. We'll get a bit closer. And yeah, that's them right there. Okay, they're not very active, but that's who we want to shoot, so we can spot where they are relative to the smokes. And we're going to come back and try to shoot laser guided rockets at them. So I'll fly, let's say 140 there, and then we'll make a left turn and try to come back for them. Trying to see over my shoulder if I can still see them. That's them over there. Okay. Good. Okay, I think we're far enough to turn around. One of the things I've learned with the Su-25 is your laser will be, it'll stay active for about 60 seconds because of the cooling, and so you have to turn it on when you're close to being ready to fire. So I see them there, so I'm going to turn the laser on. You'll see the little green light at the bottom left of the HUD is going to turn on. And then I'm going to lock these 2 there. Fire a rocket. See what that does. Kaboom! I got 2 vehicles in one pass. That's good. We'll be able to try another one. Yeah, those 2 are on fire. And just for fun and to speed things up, I'm going to switch to my inboard rockets, which are the bigger ones. If we look in the outside view, it's those ones on the inboard pylons. I'm going to try to line up the remaining 2 vehicles and get those with rockets. And at the same time, I'm looking in the target area. Can I spot those trucks? We saw on the map earlier that they were close to a tree line, so that's something that could help us. Ah, I think that's them right there. So again, I wish I could use the mouse to point them out to you, but they're pretty much center here in the screen. So that's going to be my next target. Just going to center my view there. Okay, one of the vehicles just exploded. And again, you can turn on the laser just to measure distance. Okay, so those 2 are our targets there. And so let's fire. And then we'll see if we get them. Yeah, we got both of them. One of them just exploded. Woohoo! Alright, and if we look on the outside view, I think we still have some of those big rockets. So we'll be able to use some of those maybe on the trucks. See, I left my laser on. I'm going to turn it off. Alright, so these trucks, they were close to some trees over there. Okay. So we're going to dive towards the trucks that we visually spotted before and get the laser on. Okay, I'm shaking, that means I'm going fast. See, now it went to the other rockets. Okay, that's a lot of damage in one pass. Hopefully we got most of them. That looks like we did. Now, since we got most of the targets that we were assigned to destroy, like if we look here, we had an infantry base, and you can see that there's lots of trucks and infantry and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of fun with my laser guided rockets. I'm going to try to shoot 2 in one pass on different targets. So I'm going to switch back to the laser rockets, and then we're going to head for the infantry base. The infantry base, yeah, it's got a garage and a warehouse nearby. I can spot it from here. It's that area. And so we're going to go dive for it. I'm going to reduce throttle. Yeah, I can see the 3 tents. The tents are right there where my crosshair is. I'm going to turn the not the radar, but the laser on. I'm going to lock on the tents, fire a first rocket. I guess I have to wait till I'm in range. There we go. So first rocket, and then I'll let it fly for a while and then fire a second one. And when it impacts, I'll try to move my laser to some trucks there. You see? So with one pass, 2 weapons, lots of targets were hit. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, there's lots of big fires there. There's one that's moving in the field. Oh, and somebody else is shooting at me there. Just below me here. That's probably one of the technicals I had put in. But yeah. So this mission, At this point, I would say it's probably pretty much a success. I could empty the rest of my rockets and shoot some cannons at the targets, or I could just head straight back home. But every time I'm going to play it, I'm going to get different locations for the AAA, different locations for the trucks, and different locations for the BTR-80s. And again, this is the mission I built here for this plane, for this situation. I could have put 8 different locations for each target. It's, if you're patient and you want to spend time doing this, you can put a lot of different locations for the targets, so that when you play the mission the next time, let's say you play the mission after a few months, you won't know where you had positioned the targets, even if you're the person who edited the mission. And it's going to make it quite fun, because you actually have to visually spot those targets that you want to laze and then destroy. And for those who fly, let's say, F-18s, F-16s with targeting pods, or even the A-10, like, you'd be able to have to recon the area first, spot your targets, maybe tell your wingman which one you're going to engage, and then engage them one by one, starting with the more dangerous ones and having fun with that. And so I feel like that random flag thing can really add to missions, not just for air-to-air, because I often use this to position, let's say, a MiG-29, a MiG-23, a MiG-21, or a group of MiGs here, a group of MiGs there, and maybe just to shake things up. Let's say you're fighting against Iran on the Persian Gulf map. You can even put F4s and F5s in the mix. And so when you go for your intercept, you know that there are bandits on the radar, but you don't really know what they are, and you don't know where they're going to appear, because you've put like 7 different ones in different places. Could even be just like a bomber that's going to do a bombing run. So that makes the missions quite fun. So we're already at the base. We could slow down and maybe land this, and that's how we could conclude the video, with a nice landing. So let's see what our speed is. We're quite fast. I'm going to try to bring my flaps down, and then bring the gear down. So I'm going to pull hard on the stick to reduce my speed. It's a bit of a hot dog landing. Usually I try to line up a bit better, but here I'm just trying to conclude the video, so we'll expedite the landing. Still have the air brakes on. I have to be careful, because once I start losing speed, it's gonna be slow, slow, slow. Alright, we'll be able to use all the runway. You have to be careful. The Su-25 wants to tip. Alright, looks like we made it. Again, I'm using the brakes before I turn, because This thing doesn't really want to stay very stable. Trying to get my air brakes back in. There we go. So we can get our flaps back up. And we'll turn it and park it there. We can see the grass moving with the jet wash. There we go. So we could get the canopy open, turn the engines off, and call it a successful mission. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this little demonstration with randomization of targets. Let's go have fun and look at the target area. If you remember, this is my I call it my bomb damage assessment Jeep. I can use this Jeep to zoom out and look at the target area, and you can see here where our trucks were. Not much left here. If we go in the field where the AAA vehicle was, it's just a burnt out hulk now. And if we go where the BTRs were, one of them is still on fire. So those are destroyed. And even the infantry base where we went to shoot stuff, you can see that the sandbags, the tents, the trucks, the infantry kind of gone. There's a truck smoking. There's one truck that left in the field here, but not much left. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the little flight and the possibilities that it allows you to have in the mission editor. Cool handout.